Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sistabiz on bemorenews.com. My co-host Nicole Orr is with us this evening.
Hey, hey. And we have Miss Yolanda.
Yolanda Pulley, a former mayoral candidate. We are waiting on Jason Rodriguez to join us. He'll be joining us shortly. So it's been quite a week for all of us. I've seen Yolanda at two events just this within the last few days alone. Baltimore City is really busy. There's a lot going on, a lot for activists like Miss Pulley. We wanted to kind of get into some of the things that you've been doing since the election. We're trying to get former candidates to talk about the state of the city. We know the state is it's kind of at an unrest right now, and I think people are just unhappy. And talking to a candidate that ran for mayor, we kind of wanted to get your perspective. So first, we'll let you introduce yourself and talk about, who you are, what you're doing now, and then we'll get into the previous election in Baltimore City. Welcome to the show, Yolanda.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you guys. I think both of you are amazing. I think that we need to support more black media like you guys and Black Box Radio. I appreciate all that y'all do and all that y'all cover when it comes down to us frontliners. Like you said, I did run for mayor. I dropped my campaign during COVID, but because I turned down all the money and I couldn't get hit with all the fines if I don't have any money. But the issue that we have in Baltimore is it's the leadership. But before that, right there, I am Yolanda. I also ran for mayor, and my organization is called People Empowered by the Struggle. We're a one-stop shop for all struggles. And our motto is to understand the people, you have to be one of them. And our organization, everybody that's on our organization, nobody sits on our board without struggle. So we have all walks of life, felons, non-felons, people that was brought up in the system in foster care. We have people that was raped, drug abused, and all that kind of stuff. We have everybody. So, and we also have my executive director right there, Jason Rodriguez. Um, we're just trying to make a difference in the community because in and out the seats, our work never stopped. I've been out here for over 20 something years, being a tenant advocate, fighting for tenants' rights and responsibilities. I do a lot. Trying to sum it all up in a little bit of time.
Wow, and you have tiny houses. My girlfriend is like in love with that whole movement. So she's listening tonight. She was like, make sure that I bring up the tiny houses, the container houses and stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the initiatives that we're doing. We want to build tiny houses for formerly incarcerated women and our homeless population. We're going to offer them all the type of wraparound services that they, like I said, one-stop shop from mental health to hunger. We're going to cover it all. Drug addiction. We're going to cover it all. And I'll let Jason tell you about another initiative that we have going on as far as our he don't like when I say our community food market. He don't like when I say that because he just named it something totally different. And then we our biggest dream is to build a urban farm detox center, where I don't want to have recidivism in a detox center. We want to put it all the way out in the mountains somewhere. So we don't want to see you back. We don't want you to come back. By the time you finish with the paperwork, you're gonna be clean. So we're trying to well, urban detox farm will be on a farm where we teach them urban farming. We teach them how to grow their own fruits and vegetables, how to maintain a house. It's like still offer wraparound services and a holistic approach. We don't want to do anything with another narcotic covering up for another narcotic.
Wow, that's amazing. So you want to have the tiny houses here in Baltimore City. Do you have a proposed area where you want to establish that?
Yes, we did a plot plan for Carrollton. Well, it's off of Vine Street, the 1005, that 100 block of Vine Street, where it used to be houses. Um, we're just finishing up the blueprint so we can send it over to the city.
Okay, so the city's gonna have to approve the purchase of the lot.
Well, we're gonna do a what you call it? What you call it thing, Jason? Not initiative, a pilot program. We're gonna do the pilot program, and we're gonna ask the city to donate us the land and the water, and we pay the BG&E or whatever. However, if we can do a whole, I mean, if we can do another approach as far as getting in the energy savers, we'll try that. But that's our goal, to put it over there.
Okay, and so how's that working with the city? Are you getting any leeway, because the city did hire a new director of homeless services from California. Are you working with that director in order to assist with something like this, or and there's also the mayor's office of I don't know, criminal something. Well, there's all these titles. I mean, who's working with you in the office to get this done?
Well, actually, the one that I spoke to about our tiny house initiative was Brandon Scott himself, our city solicitor, and John Bullock, Christopher Burnett, um, and a couple of other ones who's all in support of, building the tiny houses. I understand. Me personally, these little people that sits under him, they don't work for me. They sit up there and want to push people to the side. So I'm not the one that's going to sit back and wait for an answer to come from somebody when I can go directly to the top.
Okay, so you said you've gone directly to the top. What you've talked about it. What is the top doing? Like, because I hear a lot of talk, like, okay, we're gonna, it sounds good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What is the top doing, or has there been any action, or is it just so new that there isn't anything to really do yet? What is the administration or the mayor himself doing to assist?
Well, right now, the only thing he's waiting for us to do is to send him over the complete proposal, so he can go over top of it. But we do have support of the lady that used to be over top of that service. She said that she'll help push our initiative, and Sheila Dixon. So they said that they'll help push our initiative and put us where we need to be.
If I can jump in here, can you guys hear me first of all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening. Good
Good
evening,
evening. Thank you
everyone.
for
Good evening,
joining us,
Jason.
Mr. Rodriguez. We already introduced you.
You had to roll that R, didn't you?
Oh, of
Rodriguez.
course. Yo soy
Rodriguez.
panameña. I'm gonna roll my R's, okay? Ya hablo poquito español, okay? Got to.
Poquito.
Poquito, okay.
Poquito. Very little
English.
Spanish.
Yo también.
Right,
Yo
right.
We tell them
también.
Yolanda, right? What they said.
I hate to say it, we in America speak the English. So
No, don't.
no.
Mm, mm, well,
Speaking
actually, well, let's. Okay, we won't go there.
speaking the
Ya
English.
habla
No,
español.
my mom.
You're gonna make me speak a lot of Spanish now. I'm gonna just have to
Well,
pull it from somewhere.
and I wish I knew Spanish. My mom's, unfortunately, being a Puerto Rican in New York, seeing discrimination in New York, unfortunately, didn't want me to sound like Rosie Perez or Ricky Ricardo. So she
Yeah.
never taught me Spanish, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
our generation didn't. It wasn't necessary. But I mean, let's not even get into the America speak English thing. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there.
I'm only joking, family, honestly.
All
But
right.
if I could speak in reference to some of the initiatives that we're working on, what we found in reference to, like, for instance, the tiny homes, is that this has never been done before in Baltimore, and Baltimore has a lot of archaic housing and zoning policies, unfortunately, that are not very this generation or innovative. Like it's trendy now. We see the shows on HGTV, the tiny home, you see villages, not just in reference to addressing the homeless needs or needs of returning citizens, but we see communities thriving and flourishing in reference to tiny home villages. So this is becoming very trendy around the country. But as far as policies and zoning and housing laws and building codes here in Baltimore, we haven't kind of gotten out of these kind of oppressive policies that don't allow for these innovative type of building constructions to be able to take place in our community. So there are a lot of regulations that we are going to have to work through. So that's why it's important that we do have a partner like Mayor Scott that we can go directly to and say, hey, look, this has never been done before, because we're going to need advocates. These advocates are going to have to go before zoning and before the building inspectors, before the code enforcement people, and let them know that what we're doing here is structurally sound. Engineering, housing code, building code, safety code, fire related code. These structures are sound, and that this is something, in some cases, not to even address the immediate need, but to address the long-term need of some of these services that we need. So for instance, one of the things that I remember when I was in the NAACP, I sat on the committee for criminal justice at the time with Hassan Giordano. I remember one of the things that we talked about was the lack of transitional housing for formerly incarcerated women, and how these women become victims in many cases because they may have done some things, unfortunately, in their criminal activities that may have shunned them from their families, may have ostracized them from their friends. So when they come home, they have nowhere to go. And without some sort of transitional housing that allows them to at least get some footing back into the community so that they can move forward with progress, so they can start with the wraparound services that may be needed for them to move forward in life and be a productive citizen, or at least re-engage back into the community. But what we're finding, unfortunately, is there were no services back then, and there are not many transitional housing, if any, in Baltimore City right now to address the need. So we felt that besides the homeless community, which in many cases, formerly incarcerated women are becoming part of the homeless community. So we have to figure out ways to kind of bridge that, that need, fill that gap, that void that's not there in servicing these women that are coming home, to protect them, to keep them safe, to give them that insurance that you are going to be successful in our community because we're going to give you a foundation to start with, and that's at least a home. That's at least a guaranteed home. And I think that this tiny village is really kind of the avenue that we should be looking at as far as affordable, safe, convenient housing for many of these formerly incarcerated women coming home. So, and I just wanted to put that out there because, again,
Wow.
a lot of these issues that we're dealing with are new because we haven't tried these before in Baltimore City. So there's even another organization out there that's looking at building permanent homes using containers. And even they are running into some of the same similar issues in reference to zoning and housing code enforcement and policies, are concerned. So
One spin, I know for me as a veteran, is have you guys looked into, I guess, any programs with the federal government? Because I know like they do assist with certain things for the veteran homeless community. I don't know, like if there's a large percentage of the women that have been incarcerated, but that come out that would need that are veterans. I know that we do have a high population of mental health issues with female veterans and things that have returned. So I'm just wondering, have you tried to reach into some of the programs from the federal government?
So not so much reach into the programs yet, but there are some advocates that we are working with that are advocates for folks who have had military, former military experience. Um, I think a lot of times happens, many of the returning vets that are coming home, or even vets that may have been incarcerated returning home, don't realize the amount of services that are there for them. So they need those advocates. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're trying to work with those advocates. That's the whole thing, this tiny village. The tiny village is not only to be able to provide shelter, but to provide an outlet for these workers to come in, assess what the needs are. If it's someone that is a military and is eligible to be able to get at these benefits, we can assess them and make sure that they're eligible to receive those benefits.
Wow, looks like we lost them.
He'll jump back on.
Getting
But
it.
yeah, when we talk about the wraparound services for the tiny house community, we're gonna put it all in that community. We are gonna make it less hard for social workers to find their people. We're gonna give them an address so they can have mail delivered to their house. Um, we're gonna provide them with social workers,
I
PRP
apologize.
workers. It's fine. PRP workers and drug addiction counselors. You will not be able to get in if you don't want to accept any of these services if you have a problem, like as far as mental health, drug addiction, alcoholism. So yeah, we already have this in our organization. So when I say one stop shop for all struggles, that's exactly what I mean. We partner with a lot of people, and we also as far as the formerly incarcerated women, formerly incarcerated, whether it's male or female, hopefully they open back up the jails, because we partnered with the Brian Hamilton Foundation to bring entrepreneurships into the jail.
We just
So we're trying to teach them how to be the employer and not the employee, because we all know when they come home how hard it's going to be for them to get a simple job. How they're going to have to fight with the rest of us to get a job, even a minimum wage job.
Wow, Nicole and I were just talking about that earlier before the show, and just saying that that's just another opportunity for, you know, the entrepreneurship for returning citizens to start their own businesses. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of great business skills, and it sometimes it leads them into a little bit of trouble. It's a different kind of business, but they can certainly hustle and run a great business. And we were talking about that, reflecting on the city's minority business program, and saying, you know, there really should be some kind of you know, when we know someone's about to return in a certain period of time, teaching them the entrepreneurial, getting city contracts. You don't have to worry about anything. You know, you don't have to compete or have to check that box when you have your own business.
Exactly.
So it's interesting that you said that, because we literally just had that conversation.
Yeah.
So
they need to loosen up that loose from around the neck.
And I think that's where some of this. I think that's where some of the successes. I think that's where some of the successes have come from our formerly incarcerated community. I know several young men that they all kind of got together and started a moving company. I know folks, you know, you don't need to worry about background check to do certain skills. We can teach certain skills, carpentry, handyman work, and they can get a Maryland home improvement license, which is very easy to get. And we can teach them how to go through the process of getting just something simple as a Maryland home improvement license, and just doing handyman work that can sustain them, you know. So it's important that we really look at the tried models already. Again, I said this earlier before I kind of got dumped off by the app. That we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. What we're trying to do is trying to make sure that all these services that are needed, that we what the needs are, and that we work with partners that have similar synergy, and that we work on trying to address the issues collectively together.
Yeah, we also want to put in, you know, the tool. We want to put the tools back in a man's hands so he can work in our detox farm and in our tiny house community, where we teach them basically how to what is it called? It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't stand that. Is where we try to teach them how to Jason, what's that word I'm looking for when you like wood shop and stuff like that? What is it called?
Carpentry.
Yeah, carpentry, but it's I can't think of the name of it.
teach them a trade. You want to teach a trade? Is that what you're
Yes, we want to put the trades back into our community. So we're gonna partner with people who do HVAC. Matter of fact, my best friend does HVAC and plumbing, and she's a female. They have her and her family have their own company. She's willing to train people. We have the guy that's helping us build the tiny houses. He's going to teach the people how to basically hang drywall and stuff like that. And we also want to use this as an initiative for the youth to come in and start learning how to do these things too. So we want to partner with, we already partnered with Forest Park Forest Park High School. And they told us, you know, as soon as we jump off, they're ready to send their children in to either do youth works with it or for service learning hours. But we don't want it to just stop at youth works. We want to offer them a position all year long, because that's one of the problems, pains and trauma in our community. You give them a job for 2-3 months, they have to buy their own school supplies or their own shoes, and they're broke for the rest of the year. It's not conducive to the community, especially if your parents are getting high. It just doesn't work.
Well, I love it. I mean, I love it. I love the ingenuity. I love the freshness. I'm a small developer. I don't do tiny houses, but I mean, I like that, and I like, definitely being able to touch and bring and make it full circle, so that the children are able to be young people. The young people are able to be involved. Yeah, they don't be called kids, but everyone. I mean, I think it's phenomenal. I hope it, all works. Vine is close to Pratt Street, right? That's our side alley street.
That's behind Curry Street down. What is that? Right on the other side of the highway to nowhere where we was at the event the other day. It's right
Where the church,
behind.
where the big church is, right there.
Okay, so you're on the
Hmm.
other side, okay, of where we are. Okay,
Hmm.
okay.
And we would love to partner with you
Hmm.
because you have the shipping containers, and if we
Yep.
can take the shipping containers and turn them into houses, like we would love to partner with you with that because we want to make affordable housing in Baltimore City, whether they want to buy one or whether they want to rent one. We want to make it affordable in Baltimore City because we can't afford to pay this rent here. It's
It,
just crazy.
so let me
Like,
ask
Yeah.
you, what
Yeah.
what size containers? Because you're saying maybe like a 40 high cube or 20s.
20s.
Yeah,
20s.
but
Okay.
20s.
if we can stack them, it
Hmm.
really depends
And
on
some
the
said
size.
stacking them. Right.
Yeah, it really
Right.
depends on the
Double
size of
stacking
the
them.
family. We can't, take a little teeny weeny space and put a family, a mother with 4 children in there. So if we can, the wider we get, the stack that we can stack them and make it like that, then that's how we'll do it. I haven't gotten it all down yet. It plays out well up
Well,
here,
let
but
me know, because yeah, I have a guy who actually, like, a lot of the used in the older containers that are not, well, they're not no longer approved to get on the boats because they have to be watertight
Correct.
in order to get
Correct.
on the boats. Then yeah, we can get those very cheap. Sometimes they just donate them, because they
Yeah.
don't want to. They want to get
And
rid of
there's
them.
some there's some innovative designs that are going on. You see it all the time. Again, I use HDTV as an example. You see where they'll take 4 containers, put them together, cut out the insides, and now you have, a 2-story, townhome.
yep.
You put some facade, to cover up the metal, and it looks like a regular traditional home, or even in some cases with some modern aesthetics on the outside of these properties. They look more modern or more urban, or look more kind of nuanced, new age. So there are plenty of ideas. Matter of fact, even and I explained this to our organization. Maryland University was doing self-sustained, off the grid houses with containers where they use the rainwater, to be able to supply the water in the home. They use solar energy. They used solar heating to heat in the wintertime. And they were actually off the grid. They were full off the grid, didn't rely on sewer, didn't rely on public services, utilities, public utilities. To me, that brings value to the community, because we already know one of the things that we pay the most besides our rent in our homes is the utilities. Is the
Our water
utilities.
bills.
Our
I
water
wonder why.
bills, our BG&E, as high as I don't know what, you know. And so if we can create independence, if we could create independence where folks don't have to necessarily worry about those particular expenses, and are allowed in some cases to take those expenses that they were going to spend on utilities and things like that, and on housing, because there is no real such thing as affordable housing anymore in Baltimore City. The average rent is averaging out at about $1,000 to $1,200 a month. So when you're able to be able to
oh,
help families with a
where you getting that at? Because I do housing advocacy, and I haven't seen nothing under 1,300 for a 2 bedroom. 1,400 $1,400 for a 2 bedroom.
I still know
I
of some
charge
places where you
12.
can get 800, a 900, $1,000. They may be single apartments. They may be, 1 bedroom apartments. They may be efficiencies and studios, but they're out there. And I'm saying, instead of spending $1,000 to $1,200 for an efficiency, if we're able to help you possibly spend half of that in your housing, and it allows you you to also be able to save money in the long term in reference to your expenses and utilities, then you can take that money and put that money back into investing in yourself, going to school, getting a trade, buying tools, maybe investing that money into your business and buying the tools or the licensing. You're able to at least pull your resources into empowering yourself as opposed to being sucked, like what's happening now in this city. Most of these families are being drained because more than 2/3 of their expenses go to just living. We ain't even talking about food, medicine, healthcare, childcare, things of that nature. But for most of us in the urban community, in the Black community, we're spending 2/3 of our expenses just to live. So that means you're never putting any wealth back. You're never putting any savings back. You're never doing anything to be able to strengthen your family financially. So we
So
have to look at these ways of creating independence and economic independence for families in our communities. And this is tiny homes is just one particular way of doing that.
now I
You
know for
know.
me, my rents are I'm still like right at the 1,200 and below. Because one thing that I kind of, because I kind of control the asset, you know what I mean, where I go in and we're able to renovate them so that I don't have to charge those high rents. But what you find, I guess, with a lot of the fees that a lot of people are being, you have to do your lead, you have to do, what is this, the Baltimore City rental registration, and you got to turn around and do
Now,
an
yep,
inspection, and
it's every
it's a
year,
lot,
yearly. Yep.
so I guess people find their way where they got to try to find a way to make a profit. But in saying that, do you think that now that they have these multiple layers, because someone was actually telling me the other day that when you buy a property, you have to go and apply for use and occupancy. I said, but it didn't make any sense if no work was being done to it. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't make sense. So, I mean, are you seeing that the rents in your business are, equating to what people are paying, now that the landlords, quote unquote, are supposed to be held accountable for those inspections? Because I know, like, I look at some
No.
of the things on Facebook, and attendants are, like people that are looking at projected properties, and they're showing the properties, and I'm like, wow, I'm not paying that for that 85 kitchen. It's like 1985, right? You know, they want like 1,400. So, but I mean, it's efficient. I guess everything is there. But are you seeing that as well, or?
Well, see, the problem that we have is
Yeah,
it really
okay.
don't have anything to basically do with that. It has everything to do with the redlining in our city, because they jack the rent up so high in certain places. People can't afford to live anywhere but around the condominiums with rats and, you know, illegal dumping, and then they want to charge you $1,200 to live there. I had actually went at one of these landlords because he wanted $6,000 a month, and I'm like, for what? Who gonna pay you $6,000 or $3,000 a month for a house? But people try it, and see, this is where we go totally wrong. We get our income taxes, or we get these little checks, and we sit up there and try to rent these houses, and then next thing you know, in 2 to 3 months, the person is being evicted because they cannot
Mm-hmm.
afford to live in Baltimore City. It's sad. It's sad. And for our city officials and our leaders not to, one, cut redlining, or to make it conducive for people able to live. Your property taxes is high. Your store taxes is high. Everything is high. Everything is high, and that's not even to mention the federal taxes that we have to pay.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that this COVID has kind of exposed is
Mm.
that corruption can still linger even with policies in place. Because remember, this policy is new that you're talking about. The policy in reference, it's only what I think we're on our second year in reference to having a mandatory inspection in these properties. But what we found during COVID was that how some of these landlords were getting away with it was just not signing a lease. If I don't identify I have a tenant, I just don't have to necessarily report that I have occupancy. And we're
Right.
finding that
There's
a
no.
lot of folks were go ahead.
Yeah, because I
We,
told
we,
you I'm a
we,
tenant advocate. I fight for tenants' rights and responsibilities, and we have a whole bunch of landlords out here doing a whole bunch of illegal stuff. They done found a loophole, just like he said. They won't put you out, but they won't renew your lease. And once they won't renew your lease, you still
Things like
become
that.
home. And
Hmm.
I had actually got into it with the landlord because she took the doors off the hinges of a house. She took the doors off, and when the girl came home with her and her new baby, she had a rats was running in her house because the landlord took the doors. And then when she called the police told her to give the doors back. And she basically said, well, I don't know what the tenants did with the doors. So the police threw their hands up and was like, well, it's nothing we can do. It's her word against hers. Are you really? Why would the girl take the doors off her own house? Certain things doesn't make sense,
Hmm.
and this is what they're actually doing to get people out the property. And then how long is this initiative going to last when it comes down to them helping people with rent? Somebody might need help with rent every month because they can't afford to live here. If I work at McDonald's and I only get $10.50 an hour, but now my food stamps just got cut off and my medical assistance got cut off because now I have a job where they feel like this is sustainable living. How can I afford to pay the rent, BG&E, daycare, and all other things, cell phone bill if I have a little car to try to get back and forth to work, insurance and car notes? It's not conducive for Baltimore City. It's not.
Right. It's really not
Yeah.
sustainable. And I don't think we have the jobs here to sustain that at all. So the work that you all are doing is great. When do you schedule to submit your plan to the mayor's office?
Well, we're actually waiting for the guy now to finish up the layout, the drawings,
Okay.
and yeah, we're waiting for him
And we
to.
actually have a model being built. We have a
Oh
model
yeah,
being built that
our
actually should be finalized within a week or two. And
Okay.
so that's the model that we're going to use as the example to City Hall to show them exactly what we're looking at designing. So we're
and I'll
actually
make sure
putting a
I invite
model
y'all too.
to use right now.
We'd love to
Yeah.
help in any way that we can. I think this is a great initiative. I know our sister Christina Flowers is on the ground dealing with the homeless issue. I know that returning citizens need places to live, women coming out. I mean, it's a great idea, and I hope it works out, and I hope it doesn't take 10 years, 20, 30 years to do. We would love to support you to make sure that it happens in a timely manner within the next 12 months. There's other cities that do similar programs. They have other areas that they, reserve for the homeless or different citizens that need those. And have seen the small homes. And so it's great that you all are, like you keep saying, Jason, no one's reinventing the wheel. There's a lot of things going on across the nation and in other countries that we can implement. It's just everything is very archaic here, and it's such a slow process to get anything done. And so I kind of want to
I
segue
think
in.
that's one thing that the mayor, I'm sorry, I think that's one thing
Oh,
that Mayor Sheila Dixon had kind of pointed out was the fact that Baltimore City, for some reason, doesn't believe in looking at best practices. That was the whole thing with her Journey Home project. That wasn't her idea. That was something that she looked into nationally and looked at what the best practices and policies are. We don't have to reinvent the wheel when there
no.
are tried and true methods already out there. We just need to figure out how can we custom tailor those initiatives to Baltimore City, because we do have very different dynamics, and we're very different culturally than many cities that I've been in and have visited and frequent. So we can tailor those programs, but let's stop trying to figure this thing out by trying to start from the square one and trying to come up with a plan when there are plans already out there that are tried, true, and tested. There are many successful models. Matter of fact, there's one in Louisiana of a tiny village, and their whole motto of dealing with homelessness is something that our sister Christina Flowers has been championing for day one, and that's housing first. So their model is they go around in the community with these outreach workers. They grab the homeless people, they bring them to these tiny village encampments, and they work on getting them housing first. Then they work on the wraparound services. And now the outreach workers don't have to ride all around New Orleans looking for these encampments because the homeless are now concentrated to one area where now there could be a focus on working on mental health, working on finding permanent housing, working on employment and economic development. Now you could have a concentrated effort within a community, and you also give them a sense that they belong because you've given them a community. You've empowered them by giving them the keys of a unit and saying, this is your home, not that tent, not that cardboard, not where you would live, not that abandonment. This is your home. And let's get you, safe and sound first, and then we can work on all the additional services afterwards,
Right.
And these models are already out there.
Right. And even the funding that the city gets and the grants they get from the state and the federal government for the health department gets for homeless, to help with the issue and to get rental assistance. I was always, constantly signing off on these grant waivers and wondering, like, how are we keeping track of it? Do I even see, I know there's a lot of mental health issues where people can get housing and they don't want to be in that housing. I never saw, like, just outside of City Hall, you never saw those outreach workers going, and there's grant funding going there to Hopkins and all these different organizations that are supposed to be helping with the mental health. I would never see anybody out on the street, but like a Christina Flowers actually reaching out and going to the people, because they're not going to go to Johns Hopkins. They're not going to show up there. And if they do show up there, God forbid, they're probably not going to be treated very good. So I just see so much money going through the city to help with these issues. And it's still such a big issue. It just always boggled my mind. Millions and millions of dollars in grants. And I just don't know how they tracked all of that.
Yeah.
Well, the problem that
I think that's some of the problem in our city, like you said. I'm sorry, Yolanda. I think that's some of the issue that we have in Baltimore City, is that we have a lot of organizations getting funding, but they're staying within their organizations doing the work. That's not where the work is at. And I even find, even as an activist in the community myself, one of the things that I like to do is to walk the Western Corridor, whether it's Emerson Village, whether it's Irvington, and outreach and connect a lot of these young individuals, these so-called troubled individuals or repeat violent offenders. To me, they're just misunderstood and they need guidance. And when you talk to them and you say there's a program that I can get you into, but you've never seen the organization out in the street. You don't see Turnaround Tuesday walking down the street. You don't see Goodwill. You don't see Civic Works. You don't see Strive. You don't see JARC. You don't see a lot of these programs walking the streets. And that's why, for me, a lot of times I walk the streets to try to connect the streets with the programs, because there are programs out there. It's just, and there are a lot of resources being allocated to deal with troubled youth, to deal with homelessness, to deal with almost every issue. There is funding that's backing a lot of these initiatives. The problem is that these outreach workers or these organizations are not coming to the ground. They're not coming to the front line. They're not coming to the community. So
but
a lot
who
of
holds them
times,
accountable?
Nobody.
If I give you my money, you better work.
Why are they still getting paid a salary?
Well, see, that just like Jason said, the problem is that they want the people to come to them instead of taking the resources to the people. We're the ones that go out and take the resources to the people. Like, I was going into the store a couple of weeks ago, and this guy was like, something about he offered me some weed or whatever pills he had. He offered me weed. I offered him a job. And the first thing he said was, yeah, I take that. They don't want to be out there. They're out there because resources does not come to them. And nobody sends out a pamphlet or a book this thick with a whole bunch of resources in it. So in order for you to connect to the people, you have to go to the people. That's just like the problem with if you want to fix anything in the city, and this was a part of my platform, you wouldn't have to come to me, because I would go to you, because I know where the problems are. And you can't tell me that you live in Baltimore City and you don't know where the problematic areas are.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about these walkthroughs that councilmen do, that mayors do. It's just a thing that we do. You walk around with these $100,000 plus agency heads. You're walking around with the media. You're walking around with a little notebook. I mean, I saw a video the other day. You're walking around, yet you say you're the sons, daughters, cousins, brothers, aunties of Baltimore, and you're walking around like you don't know there's trash. You're walking around like you don't know there's boarded up homes. You're walking around taking notes, and then nothing happens. So to your point, it's like you don't know what's going on. I don't see council members like you need to be in the street. I mean, this is a city that's going to take hands-on leadership, and I say it all the time. What I mean, it's not rocket science. It's really not. What is the problem? It's like And I know you guys are working with Mayor Scott. I'm not. I'm a critic, but it's
not
tough
as of
love,
yet. No,
right?
not
So
as of yet.
so here the issue is that you're walking around picking up trash during your campaign. You're in the alleys. What happened? Because now you have a seat in on the second floor, wherever they put the office. I can't remember now. Why do you stop doing that? I mean, why would someone stop doing that? So you're not who we voted for?
Well, the problem is that they do this for photo ops, and that's one thing that I thrive myself on. And I got bitten behind a couple of times by my campaign managers, Jason and everybody else, because I will not take pictures of people's pain. I will not exploit people. I will not do it. And I get
She won't
hit in
even
the
take
head.
pictures with politicians.
I won't.
She won't even
I
take
will
pictures with
not.
politicians.
Because one thing I don't want is for somebody to post that picture and think that, we all buddy, cuckoo, caca, kiki. No, that's not how it is. No, because at the end of the day, I'm still going to hold you accountable for what you do. And if you don't do what you say you're going to do, then we have a whole problem. You know what's wrong with Baltimore. But yet you hire these people from outside our city, and then they have to learn what we already know. Why don't you just hire from within? That's where the problem is.
Well, because you don't want to solve the problem. I mean, if you think about it, inherently, if you
Correct.
bring a city administrator in from Austin, he's got to learn. He's got to learn where the holes are, where the snakes are, and where the dogs are in the agency. So it's going to take him a little while. It takes you a few months to catch on to their tricks. If you bring everybody from the outside, you got a 4-year administration, nothing's going to change because everybody's just trying to learn everything,
Well,
Yeah,
see, my
but
thing
I think that's where the problem lies at, is that we're bringing in people from out of state that have no familiarity, and there are strong. This is something that I talk about all the time on Facebook Live. There are strong cultural and institutional fibers that are embedded in all of our agencies. In other words, there's a certain way that BPD and their officers conduct themselves. There's a certain way that public works, whether it's the water department, whether it's sanitation, there is a culture there. And to bring an outsider in like Mr. Chris, who doesn't know these folks, who's not a resident of Baltimore, I could see already several supervisors in DPW looking at him like, who are you? Like, who do you know in Baltimore City? How long have you been here? I've been thugging it out at sanitation for 20 years, and you're going to come in my city and tell me how to do my job better than what I'm doing now? So there's going to be that resistance because there is that embedded, culturalism. There's that embedded institutionalism in all of our departments, in every agency, even to the courthouse, to the sheriff's office. There is a culturalism. There is an institution that is embedded in there, and it's hard to break it. Commissioner Harrison just identified that recently. Even Dr. Anthony Batts, who was at a seminar, a criminal justice seminar, almost 2 years ago, identified that some of the issue that former and current police commissioners are dealing with is that embedded culturalism, that embedded institutionalism that they're unable to break. They can't get to the members because there is a certain way of doing business at BPD that can't be broken by some outsider that hasn't paid any dues into BPD. You haven't ran these streets. You haven't been shot at. You haven't chased people. You haven't,
right.
dealt with
So
addicts, or
you
you
got to
haven't
have
dealt with the
street
attacks.
cred in our Baltimore City agencies in order to get anything done. Wow. I mean,
Well,
It's not so
actually,
much street cred.
cred.
It's not so much.
actually,
It's not so much street
I think you
cred.
do.
It's not so much street cred. It's kind of putting that work into those agencies. How can you come tell me about the issues that I'm dealing with in the Department of Sanitation when you've never drove a truck, you've never been around the operations here locally, you haven't seen some of the things that the members and our sanitation workers go through, you don't know what the supervisors go through, you don't know what they
Right.
go through dealing with every change of administration that comes into the mayor's office and some of the changes in policy that they have to go through. And then you're going to come in from outside of town that really doesn't understand the dynamics of Baltimore City. And then you're going to try to reform and change that and make it better. I don't see that
Any good
happening.
CEO typically they bring from within. and there's a lot of morale issues when you don't do that. So I can't imagine what it's like at City Hall with people. Just you're basically saying. And so I look at the city as the corporation, and instead of getting that talent from a Morgan State graduate or Coppin State graduate or grooming, those agency heads, you're going outside to California and some other areas, which I guess could be an issue. So I want to talk
prime
about
example is with. Prime example is with Commissioner Harrison, and most of us know the story of what happened to Melvin Russell. To Melvin Russell. Most of us know what happened. I think that we don't even have to even put it out there. That Melvin Russell was pushed out. So what do you think? What do you think that does to the morale of officers who respected Melvin Russell for the service, for the dedication, for the years that he put into the community? What do you think that does to the morale if they see one of their members being bullied out of the department?
Exactly.
And I believe that the crime would probably be a little bit more under control, because one thing with Melvin Russell, the streets did respect him. And I think that it was a slap in the face, and I understand it 100%. I am an outsider to Baltimore, but I've been here for 22 years now.
But longer.
It's my home. So, but I get it. I 100% get it. I would not have come here until I learned the people and tried to change, because that people say, "Oh, I'm good at any hood." No, you're not, because I'm from Chicago, 63rd, and I'm here to tell you that I can't go to certain places, and that's just how it is. So people think that you can. Yeah, I can adjust and I can do, certain things. You know what I mean? Because you just mind your business, But you can't really come from the outside and try to. And I get that. I 100% get that. But I do think it was a slap in the face what happened to Russell. So
well, the thing is that it's that skip over syndrome. And when you that's just like me working for you, and you tell me, well, and I've been working for you diligently for all these years, call overtime. Every time you call me in, Yolanda's there. Every time you need somebody to cover, Yolanda's there. Next thing you know, you skipped over top of me and you brought in somebody that don't know, and you asked me to train them.
I'm not doing it.
Morale is low, and that continuously happens within a lot of the agencies. And it just appears to me that the most corrupt agency heads are, of course, still from what I understand and what I know from my time in City Hall, are still there. And that is also another issue. So some people remain and some people go, and that's just the culture. And when we're talking about the culture of the city, I wanted to talk about the culture of our voters. We want to get into the election because we don't want all the time to go out. And let's talk about the culture of this city and our voting habits. Number one, I want to address the recent election. What I started doing is calculating all of the votes. And Yolanda and I, we've talked about this a little offline. We had 25 candidates running for mayor.
It was 30. It was 32.
It was 32. Okay, I counted 25.
Democrats or Republicans together?
Democrats.
Democrats was like 27.
20. Okay. So whatever the amount, I started calculating that, and I'm segueing off of how we introduced the show with it seems almost like an uprising. There's rallies here, just people aren't happy. And I started to surmise that by when you look at the votes, the Democratic votes, the majority of the votes in the primary were not, if you calculate all these little outliers, and I'm looking at it now, 100 votes here, 32 votes there, 1,000 votes there. When you look at it, it's about 30,000 votes, not including Sheila Dixon's, because she was very close. She was very close, not counting that. So that's, if you add Sheila Dixon in, maybe there's about 60, almost 70,000 people voted not for Brandon. And 30 or 40,000 did vote for him. So that's kind of the uprising you're feeling. And I want to talk to you because you were one of the 20 some plus candidates running. And we talked about this again, like the next election, we can't have that. That really breaks things up. How do we talk to these almost narcissistic folks that really, 32 votes? Why are you doing that? Like, why are they breaking up the Democratic vote? And we know that the Democratic Party may not be the ideal party, but we also talked about we just need a candidate, a good candidate, but we can't get a good Democratic candidate under the like this.
Right.
How do we pull together and fix this issue?
Well, see, the problem is that everybody's so headstrong, and it's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Like I said, I dropped my campaign and I actually backed Stokey because, yeah, I did. I backed Stokey because decisions had to be made, and in order for you to be an effective leader, you have to be an effective follower. I don't mind following. I don't mind putting somebody else on the forefront and say, hey, yeah, you do this, because when you go in, we all go in together anyway. So the problem will still be fixed. When you have these little ones that come down and they think that they can, for some reason, change the narrative or change, they so headstrong, because we all sat down with every last candidate and we said we need to stop splitting the votes. A whole bunch of them got up, walked out. Oh well, I'm just going to stick to my game because I know I'm going to do this, that, and the third. I said, really?
Well, who said that? And you want to drop any names? Because I'm looking at the. I want to
call them out. Don't you tell it. Don't you tell it.
I'm just saying,
we dropping names around here, eh?
I dropped the names. I dropped the names.
But I like to. So tell me somebody that was so headstrong. Just give me one name, please.
It was a whole bunch of them. It was the one, the white guy that just recently got locked up.
Who was that? Who was that?
The one that got in trouble for using his friend's address. His friend dropped the dime on him. I can't think of his name. He was a police officer in Baltimore City.
TJ Smith?
No.
Oh.
No,
He's like, say white guy.
White or Mexican or
well, yeah. So we have people here with Lou Catelli had 151 votes.
He never.
But the problem is, even though
he never even ran.
But they still got vote. It was still on the ballot. So
exactly.
So how what's the problem? There's a problem there, because even though you dropped out, you still got votes. When you look at the tally on the Maryland State page, people are still getting votes that I knew. Mary Washington, she'd withdrawn. She got some votes.
Yeah, but the problem is the voters. Man. The voters feel like, oh well, I'm going to vote for them anyway. So
but the name is on the ticket, so the name was still
and in some cases, yeah. In some cases, that's the strategy to divide the vote. We know that Mary Miller, the only reason why Mary Miller was there was really to divide and split the vote. Technically, was to try to capture as much of the white vote, and if possible, to steal enough inertia to where a top candidate, the top two candidates, whether it was Sheila or Brandon, had really a better advantage. Because
so who do you think put that in motion?
If she would have stepped out.
She refused
who put that in motion? Did Mary Miller just wake up one day and say, "Hey, I want to split this vote"? Who put that in motion?
It was her business partners who backed her.
Business partners.
She wanted us to drop our campaigns for her. Miss, I don't even know you. I'm not going to back anything that I do not know nor trust. I like Baltimore City is like in the whole. We're a family. And for you to come in as an outsider, what I'm saying outsider, you got a whole bunch of business work, but you have no groundwork. So I can't trust you with me and my children, never let alone everybody else out in Baltimore City. That's why the thing is that I say what people won't say. The problem is, who do you blame? Do you blame the politician?
Welcome to our show.
Right. Do you blame the politician or do you blame the voters? You blame the voters because they're the ones that keep putting the same person back in the same disposition back in office.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, because we have another election coming up, and I again, I know you guys are working with the mayor. I got to say what I got to say. He's not going to win. So what are we going to do to prevent this? And I know we talk about starting another party. The Democratic Party isn't for our people, but we have to realize that you could be a Democrat, Republican, like we said, Yolanda, we were talking offline. It's the person. We need a solid person. It doesn't matter what party you're in. It really doesn't matter.
We haven't seen Mary Miller since that campaign. So if she comes back, you're going to X her out.
And that's the problem. Right. That's the problem with a lot of these candidates. After the election is over, you don't disappear. Well, first of all, you didn't see them in the first place. but they definitely are gone after the election is gone or until another election comes up. And sometimes you see that they don't even have loyalty to the city. So instead of them running, waiting for 4 years and running again for the same seat, they're
They
running for
start running for
delegate, they're running for
Congress.
state senator, they're running for, they're opportunists. They're just trying to
No
find
love.
opportunity to get into office somewhere. They're not really genuine in reference to serving the people. They're not.
But what can we do to fix? I mean, what can we do to fix that? What happens is it's like, oh, I like this candidate. Like them. You're not going to dinner with them. They got to run the damn city. What do you mean like them? You're not sleeping with them. What does like even mean? You know what I mean?
Well,
it's like, what does that mean?
well, the
They went
problem
to
is,
Poly. I went to city.
And that's
You
the
guys
problem.
go to high school here.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's
what's
the
that
problem.
about?
That's the problem. We have an overwhelming love and infatuation with our politicians. I don't want to love on my politicians. And I like Brandon. Don't get me wrong. I've known Brandon
See, there you go. You
since he
like
was
him.
an
Tell me
intern.
what you like about him. Let's go. What do you like about
Right,
Brandon?
but liking him and holding him
What do you like
accountable
about?
is two
Hold up.
different things. I'm not going
What
to
do you
let,
like about him?
I'm saying personally. I didn't say as a
You
politician.
personally like his. You like his
Personally,
personality.
as a
You like Wu-Tang
person,
too. Okay.
I like
I
his
like his bush.
personality.
I
We
like
have great
Wu-Tang.
conversations.
I like
I think
Wu-Tang.
he's a stellar. I think
Okay, he's a
stellar
stellar
guy. Don't get me wrong. I
conversationalist,
think
and you
he's a
like
hip
him.
stellar guy.
Do you
Right.
think he's a good mayor?
But I don't have to
Do you,
love him when it comes down to the office. I
do you
only
think
have
he's a
to
good
hold him
mayor?
accountable and I think he's over his head. I hate to admit it. I think he's over his head. I think this the challenges in
Do you think he's
Baltimore
over
City
his head,
that
or
I
he's
keep
just
trying to
preparing his
explain to
next
folks.
political move?
Both.
I don't think he
Actually,
has a political move if you
I
fail
think he
here.
does.
Most folks that have failed, look at Stephanie Ryland Blake. Have you seen her excel anywhere? Look at Martin O'Malley. Have you seen him excel anywhere nationally?
I
I
think
think,
he's a bit
unfortunately, you have to
overconfident,
look
and I
at the
don't think he's
history.
thinking that.
Well, see, the problem that
Right,
we
but I
have,
think you have to look at the history. Most mayors that fail do not go on to be successful. They may be able to do things statewide, but as far as nationally and taking it to the next level, the country rejects them every time. Martin O'Malley barely had 1%, 2% in presidential polls. You understand? So what I'm trying to get at is that if you fail at an urban city, what makes you think that I'm going to trust you to run a country or to
So
even
who's
run a
next?
state in some cases?
And I think there's a bit of a delay. Sorry, you guys, with Jason. So what are we doing next?
Yolanda
Brandon is
Pulley
gone.
is next. Yolanda Pulley
Yolanda,
is next
so
for
Yolanda,
mayor.
I have a critical question for you. So you're one of the major candidates. Do you think you could have gotten the white vote?
I wasn't even worried about the white votes because the ones that need to vote, the ones that need to vote is the ones that don't vote. That's the problem. That's the thing that we have right there. We need the ones who don't vote. We have to give them something to believe in. We have to stand for something or keep falling for anything. And like I said, I'll never be nobody's politician. I'm always going to be a people's titian, in or out the seat. I service to the people, and that's one thing that our elected officials they forget. They forget that we don't work for you. You work for us. Regardless of whether we voted for you or not, you're still getting our taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
So for you to walk around
yeah.
with your head up your behind,
And
like you the God, you the greatest thing, and you see the problem that I had with politicians. You want my vote, but you're scared of me. You won't come into my neighborhood. You won't come knock on my door. You won't ask me what is it that I need because you're afraid of me, but you want me to vote for you. And that's how people in the projects are. You want them to vote for you, but they never seen you. People don't even know who the mayor is in the projects.
Yeah. Just chiming off of what Yolanda is saying, I think if you really look at Baltimore City, I'm not racist. I'm not biased. I'm not bigoted. I just want to explain that when I make this statement. I think that unfortunately we've catered too long to the white community. We've catered too long to those who are holding the status quo. We've catered too long for them. And I think that we don't realize our power. We are a majority Black city. We are a city that there is more of us that are disenfranchised. There are more of us that are dealing with the issues, the systemic issues in our community, the systematic issues, the contrived issues in our community by failed policies of the past. We are the ones that are enduring it the most in our communities. And I don't think we realize our strength. There's more of us than it is of those registered voters
Absolutely,
that
but
are
we
holding the
don't vote,
supermajority.
Jason. We do not vote, so we need to. What I
I
say,
think
um,
right.
there's a delay. I'm sorry, Jason. So when I'm talking, you
No,
probably
you're
think
fine.
I'm
You're fine.
pausing
We
and
we
pausing.
just don't have somebody. We don't have somebody to motivate us. I say this all the
No one
time.
is
I just had this
exciting. No one
conversation
is
earlier.
exciting the vote.
Correct. We don't have that in other words like that. I use this terminology all the time. I know it's no such word, but I call it the Marion Barry-esque. Like there's no Marion Barry-esque person in this city. There's nobody that is that Moses that we believe in to lead us out of Egypt and the oppression. And
Donnie
until we
says it
really
all
get
the
that candidate
time.
or recognize that candidate, because there is a candidate. I keep saying this all the time. Yolanda Pulley is that advocate for the people. But the problem is that we won't stand behind her. And we need to figure out a way to energize our community to stand behind true peopleticians and not politicians.
But the
See,
candidate
she's a
has to energize
peopletician.
it. Why isn't Yolanda? And I'll ask you, Yolanda, why do you think you were not able to energize the voters?
Because she's not part of the cliques. If you part of the cliques, you get a little bit more leverage.
Well,
That
see,
I see.
I had
Well,
40%
Yolanda
of
had
the
the
crowd.
streets.
Yeah,
Yolanda
that's
had
it.
the streets.
I had the
Yolanda
streets.
had the
And see,
streets.
the problem is that what they did during COVID, which was it was all preset and all set up. It was hardly no voting booths in Baltimore City in the inner city. It was none. They had like the ones down at Gilmore Homes had to go all the way to Emerson Village to vote. How was they going to get there? One, two. I'm in the streets all day, every day, so I can go in any community and knock on any door. But like I said, since I turned down all the money, I could not get hit with those fines. So me and mines, we're out there, and I wasn't willing to put my team at risk of jumping off getting COVID.
Right.
We in the beginning we did not know what it was. We just knew what it was doing, this, that, and the third. And then they started hitting out these major fines. The thing is that when you go out and talk to people, when you go out and you ask them, like what a John F. Kennedy said, I'm not going to ask what I can do for my country. I mean, what my country can do for me, but what I can do for my country. That's a true statement. You can't ask someone for a vote if you're scared to go talk to them.
Right.
We have to change the mind of the voters, the ones that don't vote. We have since the 80s. It's been a technique put in to destroy the black voters by saying, oh, voting don't work. Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it don't help us. The same way with census. Our census is completely off because black people don't want to tell you who lives in their house.
But Yolanda, we saw Georgia, a movie in an entire state. We have a diminishing population city. Why can't we get our people registered? Georgia is voted blue. Let's think about that. And let's think about this city and the lack of just, when you look at the totals, it's disappointing.
It is. Well,
what's wrong with this typically black run, majority black city in a state like Georgia? Now we have all these voter regulations and things going on. And I hear a lot of people complaining about what you said, where the voting booths were moved. What can we do? I always believe that the Justice Department needs to probably look into the Baltimore City voting. That's what I'm thinking, because something is wrong and they're ignoring it. We're not talking about it because it's black people winning, so what could be wrong? But there is a disrespect for the black vote. There's something going on
because
with our vote.
Yeah, but because I heard a politician say while I was helping Wesley West on his campaign, if you don't vote, don't complain. But we still pay taxes. That was by far the rudest thing I could have ever heard a politician come out of his mouth with. The problem is like I said, this has been embedded from generations. It's a generational curse. It stopped in the 80s where, we went from our grandparents and great grandparents went from getting shot with water and bitten by dogs and being denied to vote to where we come to this place right here where we say, well, voting don't work. It doesn't work because you don't vote. If you don't vote, that means that it.
But they saw it in Georgia. It worked in Georgia. Look,
but it was different in Georgia. And if I could explain, it was different in Georgia. And I want to explain. I think that it was the perfect storm. I think the perfect storm had brewed for Georgia. They were tired of this president, the orangutan, the orange orangutan, They were tired of Trump and his nonsense. They were tired of a Republican governor that was doing everything to oppress the black vote. It was identified
Well,
and
can I
clearly
tell you
visible
something?
that they're
I'm
closing down
tired.
polling stations and right.
I'm
But I
tired.
don't think it's the
Can
same.
I be honest with
It's
you?
not
I'm
the
gonna be
same
real honest with
dynamics
you
here.
guys.
It's not the same
I'm gonna be
dynamics. We
real
don't
transparent.
have right. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can I
Go
tell
ahead.
you what I'm tired of? I'm tired of everybody in City Hall. I'm tired of Brandon Scott. I'm tired of these cliques. I'm tired of Sheila Dixon. I'm tired. I'm tired of Antonio Hayes. Yeah, I said it. I'm tired of everybody from the state on down. I'm sick and tired of these cliques. I'm sick and
I'm
tired
tired of the Democratic
all this.
Central Committee.
I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
definitely
tired
tired
of
of it.
everybody.
Huge
What
hatred
are we gonna do to get them out? I'm
yeah.
tired.
Well, see,
It's a perfect storm.
Well, see, the thing is that they already registered to vote, because when you sign up for social services,
Not yet.
you have to check the box to say that I am a registered voter. If not, they give you the application. When you go to motor vehicle, they tell you, if they ask you whether you're a registered voter. The thing is that we have registered voters. We just can't. We have to get them out to vote. And the best way we can do that is, like, if I was to actually run again, I would go knock on every door. Every door. It's 559, because we just lost to 653,000. 49,000 people. I would knock on their door and I would explain to them what is the matter of fact. When you use the walk list tells you everybody who votes. I would use the walk list in the opposite way. I would knock on every door of the person who
doesn't vote. Exactly.
Right. So that's $5,000, because it costs a lot of money
for the van data.
Yeah,
for the
van
district,
data. I think it's like 5,000.
Yeah, district data.
For the citywide, I think it's like 10,000. I would never pay that.
Okay, so and Yolanda, I want to go back to why I asked about, do you think you would be able to gain the white vote? And I was listening to another media network, and they were not of our genre. And so they were talking about Brandon always talking, I guess when the federal delegation was speaking to him recently, and he was saying that there's this funding, there was lack of funding in West Baltimore and Black neighborhoods, all the while they were knocking down some homes that and all the while he was saying that they were knocking down homes in West Baltimore. But whatever, that was just so weird for me. But anyway, he was saying that, and some of these other folks were saying, oh, he's not a mayor for the people, and is that kind of messed up because he's always talking about Black people. But I literally was in my car trying to call in to say, y'all don't worry, he's not doing anything for Black or white people, so we're all on the same sheet here. But I just couldn't get in to explain that to them. They think that he's, I guess, the afro and all the acting that he's doing, it seems like he's doing something for the people, but I haven't seen anything. So
well, let me explain something to you. All Black ain't Black, all white ain't right. So I'm gonna be honest.
And all skin ain't our kin.
Right. So I'm gonna be completely honest. My father was a Black Panther. We look at things totally different. I don't feel like we should have to, just like he said, cater to the ones who already vote, because the problem that we have is these super voters. Super voters are the ones that keep reelected. Oh, he looked like my grandson. Oh, he looked like my uncle. I mean, my nephew. Oh, he is so cute with his bush. Screw that. Because at the end of the day, if we're talking, how can any candidate have a Black agenda if you're not talking about ending redlining or anything that affects?
Well, if your mentor is Martin O'Malley, you're not going to talk like that.
Exactly. But see, the problem that I have is people already knew.
And Sheila Dixon. Stephanie Rowland Blake.
And Sheila ended up endorsing.
Throw that out there. That's one of his.
They're all in bed together. Martin O'Malley's got all of our our Democratic politicians, and I'm going to say it by the balls. And so what I'm trying to do.
Martin O'Malley. That's the problem.
Well, who is it?
It's the Greater Baltimore Committee. It's the white committee groups that form businesses in Baltimore.
It's the business developers.
Right.
It's the developers.
They're the ones that run our.
Well, is that why they don't want our Black minority businesses to even to survive? Is that why the city's enjoying putting them out of business, because that's who's doing it?
Because you're encroaching on white businesses.
Yeah.
You're taking business away from white businesses that have dominated the business for decades in Baltimore.
Well, that's what it is.
Yes, it's grandfather. And I tell anybody, anytime on a campaign trail, if you want to know who sold you out, look at their campaign finance report, see who endorsed that candidate.
Of course.
9 times out of 10, the money didn't
Go
even
look
come
at
from
go look at
Baltimore.
Brandon's campaign report. You know,
Y'all
some of the
can't talk.
biggest
they
top
watch. Y'all
contributors.
talking. Y'all not
One
gonna
of the
get
top.
your
One of
lot
the
now.
top.
He's not gonna help y'all.
I'm gonna
I
throw
got
it
some
out
not
locks
gonna
there.
help.
for you,
There's
though. I got
He
some
is.
locks.
He is.
one
I got some
developer.
locks for you.
He petty.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
There's one developer over in Sinclair, the homes over there, the apartments, Sinclair
Who's that?
Lane, over in that area.
You want to name a name?
Oh, I know. Across the
Uh,
street from the Popeyes.
Yeah.
You want to name a
Correct.
name?
All that big development. That they're one of the
What,
main contributors. They're one of the
who's
main
that?
contributors to Brandon's campaign. So when you
Who's
wonder
that?
why he won't put a moratorium, I forget the name of the developer. But
We'll
it
drive
is
over
a
there.
big
Don't worry about
company.
it.
They own properties over in Cold Spring. They own properties over in Sinclair community. You know, they own properties throughout the city. And the problem is when you wonder why we don't have, like, for instance, a moratorium that was an executive order from the mayor's office protecting renters' rights right now during a pandemic, is because he's not going to do anything to go against these property management companies because they campaign and they fund him. So you won't see him intervene in evictions. You won't see it. You won't see him stop. Remember, the mayor has a lot of authority in Baltimore City. He could easily sign an executive order that even folks that are on carryover leases, which is where the loophole is right now,
What
where
executive orders has he
landlords are
done
waiting for
today?
your lease to expire.
I haven't seen any executive orders. He said he was going to come in and make all this change.
Well,
I
he
wish
said
I
he's
had
not
some
gonna.
Jeopardy music to play
Correct.
He's not
because I
going to
don't
put
know.
it in. He's
What's
not
that?
going to put it in. He's not going to put it in because of these people who funded his campaign. You have to understand when it comes down, when you sit on that other side, when you sit on the other side of the fence and you actually run for a seat and you see all the ball stuff that's being done and you see all the money that's being poured into people's campaign, then you understand how politics work.
But here's the thing, Yolanda.
Yeah.
I'm always curious because I always said, I'd love to see a candidate run and say, I don't want any campaign money. I'm gonna just run.
I did
right.
it.
So, and this is my
She did it.
pose.
But it's hard to do.
Right. So when you do that, I mean, what are they doing with the campaign money? What the hell? Why is that such a big deal? Like, what is the big deal about the campaign money? And how much campaign money do you really need in Baltimore City to run? Like,
you got to
let's be
get
honest.
your message. You got to get your message out there. And in order to get your message out there, traditionally with any campaign, you have to pay for advertisement. You have to do radio advertising.
I don't see these Instagram models having
that's
campaign
not strong
funds.
enough.
No, see, the thing is,
the
thing is when it comes down to that political piece and a business piece, because as you know, well, I don't know if you know it or not, when you go on Facebook, I have 5,000 friends and followers. The problem is that only 7% hit a timeline, and I have to be interactive with you, and you have to be interactive with me for it even to hit your timeline. And then once you get down to that business,
those
piece,
algorithms,
which is when you get down to the business piece where they want you to pay for these boosters,
right?
And when the campaign money that they're collecting is actually money for them, because everything, just like with the,
so that's why they turn tricks for campaign money, because they want to be able to run ads. Interesting,
right? Because so everything goes up. Like,
so Yolanda, I have a question for you. Excuse my posing, because this has just been so nice. I'm just like, Yolanda, so you're mayor. Let's just say hypothetically you won and you're mayor today. Do you think crime would be the way it is today? And what would you have done to change what we're facing?
No, it would not be the same. Like I said, by the time it takes, by being so high right now, it's going to take a while for anybody to fix Baltimore City.
But he said, Brandon ran on a ticket and said, I got a plan. Theroux and I believe Brandon were the ones that had these plans. Okay.
You can't have a plan if you don't ask people what they need. Like, East Baltimore crime is not the same as West Baltimore crime. South Baltimore crime is not the same as North Baltimore crime. If you don't go out there and you don't ask them, what is the problem in these communities, you will never fix anything. We got to stop throwing all these eggs in one basket, because you might need the turtle egg, you might need the chicken egg, I might need an ostrich egg. So all the things you got to stop throwing it in one basket, collecting all this money talk about fixing crime, but you have to realize they don't want to fix crime. That is the number one money maker in Baltimore City. Crime prevention. Billions of dollars come into our city for crime prevention.
So why do we have enough
Billions?
police officers if billions of dollars are coming in?
There's even billions.
They're having overtime while they're on vacation.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. See, you got to see the thing.
There's even billions of dollars being made. There's even billions of dollars being made in our death. Like we're actually worth more in our death than we are alive.
So where's the money
40,000,
going?
You know,
it gets paid to the administration first, and nothing ever hits the ground. You got to understand that all these people, you get jails that get paid. You have police departments that get paid. You got all these nonprofit organizations that
sheriffs,
get paid.
courts, lawyers.
Right. Everybody get paid except for the ones who lost a family member or the one that's laying out there on the ground. I'm just going to be honest.
And speaking of that, I follow Worse Than a Wire, which is like a local clothing company here in Baltimore. I think it's hosted by a mother who lost her son to gun violence. And she actually was going back and forth with Marilyn Mosby on her Instagram. And she says this, that I guess she was supposed to get some type of money, and she never saw the money that she was supposed to get from the state's attorney's office. And I found that interesting because I didn't realize that the state's attorney's office, actually, how much are people supposed to receive? She said it was above $10,000. Really?
Well, I don't think it's that much. The problem is, the thing.
I think it's around 7 or so. I can't.
It can be that high. It can be up to that high.
It depends on circumstances
of a family. Correct. Circumstances. Correct. Because you could be moving a whole family
and all that kind of stuff. It's supposed
in the process.
Yeah, if you have someone that's murdered on the streets of Baltimore City, then the family is supposed to be protected. It's supposed to be moved. We just don't.
Right. It's a victim impact fund. Right. That is correct. That is the fund we're discussing.
We don't do it.
Yep. Thank you, Brother Thomas.
Yeah, that's why me and Jason is so hell bent on flying the eye in the sky, because it takes the target off of people's back. You don't have to snitch. And we have this culture in Baltimore where stitches get snitches and thrown in ditches, we have to.
Right, because I was a city hall snitch and I got put out because of that. I was snitching so much in City Hall, they had to.
Well, I think the definition of snitch, and I
well,
tell
that's not
people,
a snitch. That's a whistleblower.
Whistleblower.
Wait a minute! I was a whistleblower, and the IG didn't do anything about it. She was a whistleblower, but that's another story.
No, it's a difference in the culture of business and on the
That's
street.
unfortunate because the city doesn't have the city doesn't have whistleblower protections. Only
the state does.
Whistleblower protections are only
on the overarching state level. The
state does, right, in the state.
Yeah, but we don't work for the state. You wasn't working for the state. You work for the city government.
And the federal, but the city doesn't.
Yeah, but it's overarching. It's a state policy. Yeah.
Right. It's a state policy, but it's not implemented in Baltimore city government. That's the problem that we have. The city and the government does not work together.
Absolutely.
They do not. They're not cohesively glued together.
Do you think you could have worked with Governor Hogan if you were a mayor today?
Hell no. I'm just saying. See, the thing is that you can't understand the ground if you've never been on the ground. So he needs somebody, all these black people that stand there with him, they don't understand trauma and crime in our inner city because it does not affect them. If he don't bring his little out of that position where he is and come down here and ask us, what is it that I can do to fix Baltimore? You keep going to the ones that you keep giving millions and billions of dollars to, and you've never seen no result. And then you want to sit there and be ITCH about it.
But we do get some funding, and there's some missing funds here and there. We're not really accountable for what we're getting either.
Well, the problem is that there's no oversight of anything that goes on in Baltimore City. It's all put in by design. Why do you think that I'm gonna say it? A mayor gets paid a mayor gets paid so little bit of money, and he puts everybody in position that gets paid more than him because
they can take the fall for when he does something wrong.
Kickbacks.
Oh. Okay.
They get kickbacks.
Yeah. And fall and take the fall.
Yeah, you ever seen
They
Power,
become the
right?
fall
You
guy.
put all these organizations in place, and you funnel money through that organization while you collect it.
Absolutely.
That's the problem that we have, and nothing hits the ground ever.
Yes.
I'm tired
So,
of people talking about this trickling effect. I need the money to hit the ground. And you keep funding all these people that you see. You claim data, you claim that you use data, but if you had to use the data, you would have seen that the eye in the sky was actually working, but you took it out of place because it don't only hold us accountable, it holds you accountable too. It don't only fly and look at us, it see all the wrong that police do. It see all the wrong, and see, that's another thing why they did not want it to fly. I'm gonna be real with you. They did not want it to fly because one, it's gonna prevent crime. The money's gonna leave. Two, a lot of police officers' jobs would not be needed. And three, the FOP would not be needed. It's a business at the end of the day. And they see my
so
thing with our
Baltimore
guys.
City's crime is a business. It's not going to get resolved.
Exactly.
That's what you're
Well,
telling me.
you put Yolanda in office going to get resolved because, like I said, I'm losing too many people. They're not losing anybody. Like the boy that I just watched grow up in White Lock, that just broke my heart when I seen him on Murder Inc. My daughter called me, was like, "Mine, such and such got killed." I said, "What?" Not to mention the guy that's from Safe Streets. I grew up with him in Cherry Hill.
Benny, yeah,
And
you
you mean
grew
to
up with
tell
Benny.
me? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So,
I grew up with him in Cherry Hill. And not to mention, one of my board members just called me and sent me a message yesterday and say her homegirl, her friend, was murdered and raped on Bruce Street. Who doesn't deserve answers? So
would you
you
have
mean to
kept
tell me
commissioner, the current police commissioner?
he should be fired? And matter of fact, if matter of fact, I think it needs to be a more what's the name put in place that every elected official, even in your district, if it's a body laying on the ground, you need to be charged with that murder because you ain't do nothing to help nor prevent it. That's your fault. You didn't put no resources in. You
And I
didn't
think in some
beautify the
cases,
area.
yeah, I think in some cases that's what's happening right now. There's malfeasance in office. There's derelict of duty in office right now. You know, when you really look
What's
at,
the inspector
and
general
prime
doing about that?
example,
Don't we have an
just using
inspector
the
general that's
aerial,
supposed to be independent?
but there's only but so much that she's going to touch and do. And here's what I mean. Using the aerial surveillance program as an example, we watched everything this current administration, we watched every different method possible that could be utilized, including getting at the police commissioner when he had just won the primary. So understand this, family. Mayor Scott had just won the primary, and he had gave an order to Commissioner Harrison at the time to end the aerial surveillance program. I'm not for it. I'm philosophically against it. He wasn't even mayor yet. That wasn't Jack Young was mayor. He undermined a sitting mayor, even though he may have been a lame duck mayor. He undermined a lame duck mayor.
Boy,
And
was he a
unfortunately,
lame duck
Commissioner
mayor.
Harrison followed suit. I'm talking about Jack Young.
No,
Jack
I
Young
said,
was
boy,
lame
oh
duck
boy,
because
he
the
was
primary
a
had already
lame duck.
decided that we didn't want. Oh
Sorry.
yeah. And what we watched was unfortunately we watched Commissioner Harrison fall in line because the theory is that most folks that win the primary end up going on to be the mayor. So he didn't want to do something that was against what Brandon Scott wanted, knowing that his job would be in jeopardy come December 2nd. So we watched as we were first getting support and assistance from Major Hood, from the detectives. They were utilizing the program nonstop. And then we watched after the primary hit, and there was a resentment, there was a resistance. We never got tied into ShotSpotter, which was one of the things that was in our agreement, was to be able to be tied into ShotSpotter so that when ShotSpotter goes off, we're able to track, shootings that happen within the ShotSpotter area. We never got integrated into that system because there was that resistance to not utilize us anymore after the order had been given. These are the type of policies to me that is malfeasance in office. Because if you have something that's innovative, that has the ability for the greater good of the community, and you fail to offer it or at least investigate it thoroughly enough to see its viability to the better good of the community, and you fail to bring that product service, that's what the mayor's job is. The mayor's job is to figure out how to supply the products and services, the needs, the public service needs of the community, whether it's removing the trash, whether it's providing water and sanitation, whether it's fixing the roads, whether it's providing safe and adequate housing policies. This is his duty. And if he doesn't come to the community and say, I investigated thoroughly the aerial surveillance program, and I find it to be a viable option that can do the greater good of resolving the violence in our city, and you don't present that to the community, that's the definition of malfeasance. We just had a referendum that changed some of the policies in City Hall. We have a recall.
Should Mayor Scott be recalled? That's what people are saying. Derelict of duty. Should he be recalled?
I'm saying technically, based on some of the things that have gone down recently, that he is committing malfeasance in office. The definition of it,
he gets put out on this new rule, and then we have Nick Mosby.
Well, actually,
unfortunately,
that piece never made it to the ballot to recall a mayor. It didn't make it. We don't have it within our city government. It's in the state, but it's not in the city. So a mayor.
Oh, so it did it. It wasn't. I can't recall if it was on the ballot.
It was not on the ballot because before they ended it, before it ended.
It was a referendum. It was a referendum.
Yeah, but
it was a referendum. It was done. So because that was also like the board of estimates.
It passed.
No.
It passed.
It passed. See, it was two pieces to it. It was the part where you could recall a mayor, and then it was a part where city council can hold the mayor responsible and have that person removed if they was
there are certain reasons, because I read it in the code,
right,
because
charged with a criminal offense.
If they're charged with a criminal behavior.
No, and also if they hold on, because I did submit it to someone recently, and I have to find it because some of those folks that are trying to recall him did call me.
Why are they in the audience telling us about Nick Mosby?
They called me for some odd reason. They called me. I don't know why.
Yeah, but it's no recall. It's no recall for Baltimore City.
Why is the audience hollering no Nick Mosby? Like, what's wrong with Nick Mosby?
So no, these are the sons of Baltimore.
I have a little nickname for Nick
Mosby, Comptroller Henry. We were so happy.
Why they hollering no Nick Mosby?
What happened to the sons of Baltimore? What happened?
In order for it to be a recall election,
I'm not happy with none of them.
It would not be an appointed seat. It would have to be another voting thing, the way that they had to do with Mfume and Kim Klasick. There is no. That's why they don't.
Who's that? Who?
He's missing in action. We haven't seen him.
Mfu, where are you? I mean, I don't know. I interned for Elijah Cummings. I'm used to some action. Where's Mfume at? Let's talk about that.
Well, I made up a rhyme for that. I said, "Oh, Mfume in a shoe." what like the little person in the shoe had so much
poor Baltimore.
The old lady that lived in the shoe.
Yeah.
Where is he?
So where is he?
Where is Mr. Mfume, Congressman Mfume? Where is he?
He's where he's always been, and like I said,
where's that?
He been in politics for over 50 years, and you never seen him do nothing for Baltimore City.
Well, who's done?
He got voted in. The only reason why he got voted in because people didn't like the way Kim dressed. Because they
so you're a Democrat. Yeah. Did you support Kim Klasick?
Yeah.
I definitely support.
How you say it?
They say he at home with wife number 5.
Ooh, I love it.
I still.
The show's only supposed to be an hour.
I still support Kim Klasick.
I support her too.
I still
so she had a good plan that you think,
because I see her.
She's out there.
I see her in the community. She's doing
She's
service in the community.
Well, can y'all get her on the show?
Away.
We would like to interview her.
I'll call her and I'll tell her that you want to interview her.
So the only people we've seen on the street, Nicole and I have been on the streets. We try to get on the streets a lot more. We just got so much going on. However, it's been you and it's been Thuroo Vignarajah. What are your thoughts on Thuroo Vignarajah?
He had to grow on me like a bowl or wart or something. He had to actually grow on me.
Has he grown on you?
He has.
As a mayoral candidate, what do you think do you think the city would be in a better situation than it is now with the boy wonder?
I don't know about the boy wonder type thing. I mean,
do you think it would be in a better situation than it is with Brandon? That's what I meant.
I don't think no politician would be a better position for Baltimore. I don't care who it is. If you got politicians,
you think the Rue's a politician now?
He's a politician. He's always been a politician. He'll tell you he's a politician.
You're not a politician?
No, sir.
You promise you won't be a politician?
I will never be.
You're not going to sell out for a fur coat? I mean, fur coats are that's the thing.
They scare the hell out of me, so you ain't never.
She don't even like fur.
So you don't love fur. You sell out for a fur coat or vacation, a trip or something, you know? I mean, it's so enticing, right?
No, it's not, because I don't even want to travel. Why are we traveling and I can't even fix my city? Doesn't even make sense. I don't want to leave and go on vacation and come back to the same problems that I left with. I'm not the traveling person. Jason will tell you, I'm not traveling. I'm not getting on a plane, because if God wanted me to fly, he would have put wings on my back. Second of all, you will save a lot of money on Yolanda by Yolanda not traveling, not doing fur coats because they scare the hell out of me. You can't even get me to put on a skirt. So what makes you think I'm going to put on a fur coat?
Okay.
You got to do the conference of mayors, but of course that's here in Washington D.C. So you can just
don't even get me started, because I used to look on the board of estimates, look at all this travel people were doing and all this training they were doing, and we still contracting everything out, and everybody's stupid as hell in City Hall. All the agencies are dumb, and nothing is working right. I mean, come on. But anyway,
it was.
Amen. Have to wrap this up. Nicole, I'm going to ask you. I've been a little too much of this tonight, and it's just off the hook. So I'm going to let Nicole wrap up or ask any more questions she may have, because I'm just
any last words? You know, I always want to hear from people how we can move this city forward. We have him for the next 3.5 years. And right now, I know people do not like to refer to the city being in crisis, but when you think about it, unfortunately, that is kind of where we are. From the murder rates to the jobs to the contracts to the developing.
It's the truth. Forgot the food desert.
Food desert. You know, to the health disparity that has been allowed. The education. I mean, I just looked at, and they're talking about kids like below 1%. You know, they can't read and this and that. And I mean, it was just emotionally overwhelming, because that was one of the reasons why we relocated from the city, was because of the education factor. And it's just, so I just want to hear, what do you think that we can do to move it forward? Because we have what we have. And I don't believe that Brandon has any, I don't think that he's corrupt. I think he's loyal.
Videotapes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was reading that too. I didn't know what that was about.
What videotapes, Mr. Briggs? Why would you give me the link to get on this show? What you mean?
Well, there's some of us.
There's
some of us in the community that have heard this rumor, this so-called rumor. I'll say alleged rumor. You know, for the platform's sake, you know, that there is an alleged video of our mayor, you know, possibly in some compromising, you know, circumstances. I haven't seen it. You know, I haven't gotten any confirmation.
Wait, hold on.
But the rumors are out there.
Okay, well, let me say this.
A video of our mayor in a compromising position?
Y'all giving her too much information.
What position could that possibly be?
Wait a minute.
Well, because you don't want to be attacked by certain community groups, you can't say it.
The clicks. You don't want the clicks. You don't want the clicks.
Sex tape. I mean, Kim Kardashian is making
you don't want the clicks to come.
What's wrong with the sex tape?
Dozer, Morris has on Brandon. He said,
"Are you talking about the former? He's talking about the former
police commissioner.
Police commissioner. And you know what? I believe that. And let me tell you why. Because Ed Norris got a lot of people.
I know that they put people in positions when they have compromising data on them to make them do what they want them to do.
He still went to jail though.
I'm just saying that when people have that kind of data on you, so they're probably hanging that over Brandon's afro and saying that if he doesn't do what they want him to do, it's going to come out. That's how they work it. And I've seen that with them. Like they get people in compromising positions. I mean, like I was telling you, Nicole, they were going through my email for months, but they couldn't get anything on me. So I had to go because they can't hang nothing over my head because there's nothing they can do for me. So maybe they're holding his little video over his head. He doesn't want to.
But how does that help Ed Norris? I mean, because I would have been using all my tickets to keep from going to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like he still ended up going to jail.
Oh, he's not.
Well, he got. Didn't he get to keep his money and his?
These comments.
Oh, okay. You're right. So yeah, okay, maybe that's it. But I'm like,
he came out, got his own radio show. He's still sitting comfortable. He's still comfortable.
He didn't get the girl though, because she still went on and stayed.
Wow, this has been so juicy.
If you remember that one, Jason, I don't know if y'all remember that one. He didn't get the girl though.
This has been juicy. I didn't know anything about a video. Leak the tape. That's all I gotta say. Leak them.
Well, whoever got the tape, they ain't gonna do it.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a little sex tape, though. I mean, again, Kim Kardashian made a lot of money off of it. We wouldn't know who she was if it wasn't for a sex tape. Right?
Stop it.
I think what's crazy about this thing, I think it was crazy. Now the police got your video jam, Jason. We can't hear you. And said, Jason, did you hear about this? Jason, did you hear about that?
Jammed up.
Jason, you got jammed up. We couldn't hear you. Already delayed. I mean, they're jamming our system. That police thing that they spent all that money on, jamming people's cell phones at protests. Mm-hmm. Well, you guys,
that last comments. We were trying to do the last comments on what you guys think. Because again, I don't think that he's corrupt. I just think that he is loyal to the wrong people. And that is a difference. That's a difference, being loyal to the wrong people. I don't think he's... I don't
roll up and videotape it for the next 3 years, honey. I'm just waiting to see it come out.
I mean, whatever he's doing, unless he's doing coke, you know what I'm saying? Sex is natural.
They're going to use him up this next 3 years.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just natural. I don't fault him for having sex if that's what it is. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. If it's just a sex tape, what's the big deal? He can make some money afterwards off of that because he's not going to be an elected official any longer. So he can get that Kim Kardashian money if he just puts the tape out.
Where's the tape? No. That's what I'm saying. Nobody has ever came forth with this tape that's supposed to be out there.
It's just a sex tape.
Well, but where's the tape? Why nobody?
He's not on top.
This is
I just seen that.
What's your last one?
Wow, I forgot the damn question. What was it?
We're all over the place. You guys are off the hook tonight. You guys, I can't. We're supposed to.
We hear you. I hear you.
Wait, you're on mute. Wait. Okay, you guys. Okay. I think we need to wrap this.
Okay, so I wanted to real quick. I don't know what it is in this city, but I can't begin to tell you the amount of stories that I've heard. People that have come up to me out of the blue and said, "Did you hear about Mayor Pugh? Did you hear about Stephanie Rowland Blake in the hotel? Did you hear about Ed Norris in the hotel? Did you hear about Martin O'Malley in the hotel?
The threesomes with Blake
or is us or like I've heard so many stories about politics, alcoholism, sex, drugs,
hiding their husbands and holding stations so they won't go to jail.
I don't want to hear it.
Oh my.
Yes, like I said, we're on the ground, so we hear it all. Now, whether it's truth to it is another story. But it never lacks the curious mind of saying,
I can't. These comments are off the hook. You guys,
I get sick of it. I get sick of it.
I know the story. Why would you do any of that if you're a politician? Who's that dumb? Are people that dumb?
Well, they do it amongst each other.
Yeah, but that's why they don't want that eye in the sky to fly. You have to understand that they get caught.
That's why they don't want the little aerial surveillance then, you guys. They don't want to get caught on the way to the hotel, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Well, see, the thing is, the aerial surveillance just don't fly around and hover over top of people and wonder what you cheating on your wife with and what little person you yeah, who you get caught in the car with. They
I'm
don't
being
do
very
that.
facetious and very sarcastic
I
because I just
know.
don't know how else to handle all this information. Whoa. Well, you guys, Nicole, go ahead. I'm sorry. You're supposed to wrap it up, and then I started posing again.
Well, I mean, I don't know how we gonna do it, but we got to move it forward. Videotape or no videotape, I just hope it's two consenting adults, because what I zero tolerance for is child molestation.
My God.
That right there, like it's heads off. I think you
I think
deserve
he's a
that.
grown man. He
But
looks like a
nah,
kid, but
not
he's
not not no
grown.
kids.
He's
Now,
a
now,
grown
but
man.
you touch a child, I think you should die. That's just
I'm
that's
with
just
you.
how I think. That's how I was raised. So no,
I'm
two
with
Let's
you.
consenting adults,
not put
I don't
that
care.
out there. We're just talking
It
about
can even be
kids.
three. You can even have three
Okay.
consenting adults. Adults, I don't care. But what do you think we can do to move the city forward? Because we are at a standstill. So I just wanted to hear from each one of you, and if 1 minute, if you can wrap it up and just say what it is that you think we can do to move the city forward.
Jason, go ahead. You go first.
They really on us right now because they didn't
I was
froze him out.
gonna say Queens first, but so I was gonna say Queens first, but I think what you remember the terminology that was used, drain the swamp. We need to drain the bay. We need to drain the harbor. We have more black delegation in Baltimore City that represent us in Annapolis, that we have more black faces in City Hall than we ever had. We have the greatest control that we've ever had in City Hall. We have a comptroller. We have the city council president. We have the mayor. And the mayor controls the other three votes and really and truly in the board of estimates. We have the greatest power that we've ever seen. We've never had this much power, black power, within our current administration. Never. There's never been this many positions, three like this before. To me, it is important that we understand that power, and with great power comes great responsibility. And if we're not being responsible to the people, then drain the inner harbor, get rid of them, drain the swamp, drain the
Well,
bay,
Brandon
get rid of
said he was
each and
not going to
every
be the
last one
status
of them.
quo, and he
That's
didn't
why
do
I
that. He
couldn't be
is the
mayor.
status quo.
Because if I was mayor, I'd fire everybody.
That's what I'm talking about.
I was gonna
Right.
fire. I was gonna fire
Unfortunately,
everybody. It was
he's
Jason, you were cutting out something terrible.
They're on you, Jason. Watch out. Okay, Yolanda, you want to wrap up? Like, what can we do to move forward?
First of all, if you want to move forward, like I said, you have to go out there. You have to get your ass from behind that seat, and you have to go out here and talk to these people and ask them, what is it that I can do for you? Stop thinking that because you're mayor and you sit in the top position that you have all the answers. You do not. And we have to stop hiring from the outside. These people are not gonna. They don't want to be skipped over top of. They don't want to be ignored. They don't want to put in 20 and 30 years and then go either have to retire out or have to or get fired because they're not a part of the current it's not even the position, the current situation. You have to stop doing that. If we already have people here who understand the people, then let them work for the people. Come down a little bit, come off your high horse and stop being scared to go out here and ask people. If you're scared of them, tell them that you're scared. Well, I'm scared to come to your neighborhood. Can you give me a phone call? I mean, we all have a little in us. So, I mean, like, say it. That's the thing. Say it. And before we leave, I also want to invite you guys to our date night with the homeless on August the 7th. I'm gonna send y'all the flyer. We also you can sponsor a homeless person, donate money to them for our initiative to build tiny houses for formerly incarcerated women and our homeless individuals. I'm thinking that we even need to start tackling the homeless youth epidemic. So if we can squeeze that one in there too, then we will, because that's a high priority. Jason was on the phone with some people earlier about sex workers and how they want to make it, pass laws that say 18-year or over that they're eligible consent to do this. That's disturbing and it's disgusting. Because if you can't, if you can't,
And we have an issue with young prostitution out there.
yeah, and if you can't approve them for alcohol till they 21, why is it okay for them to go sell their body at 18? We already disrespected by we already disrespected by all black women are already disrespected on every level
by everybody. Yes.
Right, in our communities. And if you was to put that here, that would put us all on the line of fire to be sitting behind jail. Because that's where I'm going if you feel as though it's a good idea to disrespect me with the things that come out your mouth. Especially when it comes down to, because this legislation and policy been put in, you only giving them room to disrespect the black women further. Another thing is we have to stop asking white organizations to push our initiative. It's not up to them. They can't save us. The only ones that can save us is us. We have to show up and we have to show out for our organizations that's out here doing the work and stop putting in money in Black Lives Matter, because clearly it doesn't matter to a lot of people if it never hit the ground. Billions of dollars is being put into certain organizations, and we never see it in Baltimore City. I mean, I have lived here my whole life, and nobody have ever came and asked me did I need a goddamn ham sandwich. I love ham, by the way. Anyway. But the thing
Yolanda, you were growing on me until you said that.
I'm sorry. I love ham. I love ham sandwiches. Well, bring me a hamburger or something. Just bring me a sandwich.
Oh, come on. We don't mean
we eat black beans and mushrooms.
We're gonna bring you a black bean burger.
Oh, we have vegans. That's right.
I will take it and I will put it up and I will say that they gave it to me. I will probably put it in gold and just have it sitting there. I love you guys so much. I appreciate all that y'all do. It's not about us. It's not about what we can do. I mean, it's not about how they can help us. It's how we can help you. Like I said, I would love to partner with organizations and who's out here doing the work that's not getting the funding. Because like I said, it takes more than a village to raise the people these days. If you're not willing to die for these causes in the street, sit your ass down and let me do it myself. That's what I have told them my whole campaign. If you're not willing to take the hit for people, because I've been taking a hit for people for over 20-something years, and I'm still standing. If we don't create a few enemies on the way up the ladder, we did not do our job. So come outside of your comfort zone and start to vote for people who make a difference, not the ones who want to collect money, who's going to tell you what you want to hear and not give you a damn dime. We have to stop with this, oh, he's so cute, or he's my favorite, or if you don't see him, don't believe him.
Right.
How can we have more people that believe in a politician that believe in God? You don't, but you believe in a politician that you don't see, but you don't believe that God is real.
Amen.
And on that note, I mean, wow, we went almost a full 2 hours, and I'm here to tell you, the city, we have our issues, but it is a beautiful city. I would love to assist, anywhere that I can, because housing is definitely an issue close to my heart. The people, that's right, Yolanda Pulley, right? Like, how much longer we got? 3 years? Hell, I might move back to Baltimore City for this campaign and just to vote. Like 2024.
Yolanda, you're growing on me. I gotta quiz you a little more. I gotta watch you. I just started watching you Saturday, so I gotta watch you. If you can get me, you're good.
Well, one thing I can say is she go east. Where was we at yesterday? I don't even know.
West side and the west side.
That was west.
Yeah, well, that was northwest.
Look, she went from we southwest. That's west. Look, that's a shame.
I was also downtown today. See, that's what.
She was downtown. This was the one that we missed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Yolanda, you're out there doing the work. Thank you. You're doing the work in the community. You're out there. I don't know what else we can ask for a representative of the city. We do need to try something different. We need to try some new shoes. It's like we keep putting on the same shoes and getting blisters and wondering why we got blisters. So maybe we need to try a new pair of shoes, and maybe Yolanda Pulley is that new pair of shoes. So, hey, let's see.
Nicole. You know what's interesting about her is that I watch. You know what's interesting about Yolanda? I see this every day with her. Every time her phone rings, she answers. And anybody that calls her for help, if she can't help them, she finds a solution to help them. I think that's what's important about what I see in her every day.
I
That's
got service
amazing.
calls.
You've got a believer, and we do, like we talked earlier, Yolanda. The Democratic Party has to find a candidate, and the Republicans, because they're not going to win. We got to unite as citizens of this city that are just tired. Democrat, Republican, and Independent. And if Democrat is what people like to see, if it's too much trained to
I
change,
think we may
them
need
off
to change our elections.
right. We need to do it.
And
So
I
fire
think we need to
everybody
change
from
our
the top
elections.
down.
And what I mean by in St. Louis and in New York, they've changed their election policies where now they go by the runoff. They do a runoff election, and they don't go by who's the majority of the candidate. They have, if there's 27 candidates, whoever's the top 4 candidates, then go for a runoff.
well, we got to
based
get
on their
Armstrong
numbers.
out first. So we
And the
need to call the
primary,
feds first. And when the feds come in and get him out, maybe then. But that's not going to happen with the next election.
I wish the
We got to
feds
get the
could come on
Justice
because
Department
she all
involved.
over me.
And I'm trying to work as hard as I can to get the feds
you
here
done
to
started
clean some
meddling.
stuff out. So, it is what it is. But guys, this has been great. This has been a pleasure. Thanks, Yolanda. Thank you, Jason, for letting me be me. Nicole, thanks for putting up with me and my mouth and my emotions. This has been great, very educational. Thanks to the audience for participating. It got a little salty tonight. Yolanda, stay out of the hotels and don't let anybody record you. I mean, we need to keep you clean in case you get caught, all right?
I don't even like hotels.
And don't take any money or anything. No bracelets, no donations, whatever. Just stay clean, okay?
I cannot be bought on no lie.
And no fur coats. It's always a damn fur coat. I don't get it.
It's an animal. I'm not putting it on.
Okay. All right. Thank you both for joining us. Good night. This has been Sistabiz. See you guys next week, and hopefully it'll be under 2 hours. Right. Oh.